Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Professor of Media Production and Communication at Mid-America Christian University, and our instructor for COM 4123, Media Production Techniques. I'm here with our second entry in the video discussion series. So this is a video discussion prompt for week 2 of the course. In week 2, it is honestly one of the more challenging weeks in the class, and I want students to embrace the challenge, not be scared off by it, all right? And if problems arise, let's seek solutions. And that includes reaching out to the course instructor, okay? And so we don't want you running away from the problems or running away from the course for that matter. We want to solve those together, and we're interested in seeing some of your best work yet showcased in this week. In week 2 of the class, we narrowed down our focus in terms of the film clips that we provide students for a specific reason. I want to unpack the reason and then use that to segue into our prompts for week 2 video discussion. All right, so give me a second to unpack our focus. In week 2, we continue to use the mass medium of film to articulate and aka teach certain media production techniques. And in this course, because we want it to speak to both novice or less experienced as well as experienced media producers, we're using a lot of basics language and film language and terminology in the first couple of weeks of the course, right? So we're catching everyone up to speed. Well, there are few film genres as excellent at simplicity as the American Western, or the American film Western as it's sometimes referred to. Westerns. We're talking about Westerns, we're looking at Westerns, and we're using Westerns for our purposes. Now, you all don't have to set out to make a Western this week in your media shorts, but if you're reading the prompts carefully, there are some Western themes that you may be embodying in your own original ideas that you make. And so one of the ways we can help reinforce our learning about media production techniques through learning about exploring and sampling from Westerns, it can be processed and brought to life through these discussions. Well, I want to relay that into a wider discussion with you all, video style, all right? Part 1 of your response. Here we go. I would like you to tell us about, well, let's start with the familiar. Because we're using Western themes this week, let's start there. And for part 1 of your prompt, tell us, what is your background familiarity with the Western? And so what do you think of when you encounter that media that is set using those types of narrative tropes and conventions? Do you have a lot or none whatsoever experience with that genre? I think it's a genre that's disappearing, and it is fading in our sort of collective memory. And so media like film or TV, or you might think of streaming shows, these can be some of the last remaining ways that we connect with that. You know, the Western was really popular as pulp dime novels in the early 20th century. And then it innovated into first film and then television. And so it was a popular story form at a certain point in time in our history. And that could be part of the reason why we see fewer and fewer Westerns made today. But that doesn't mean they don't hold value for us, okay? So they do hold value. They are great tools with which to teach and then practice executing techniques, storytelling techniques, visual techniques, media production techniques. So part 1, we want to hear, what is your level of familiarity with the American film Western in any iteration whatsoever? So tell us a story about your familiarity with the Western. And there's no wrong answer to this, because We don't want you to pretend you're more informed about it than you are, or don't act like you like it, even if you really don't have any interest in the genre. That's okay. We want to know about that. So tell us about your familiarity with the Western. Next, regardless of your familiarity with the Western, tell us about the storytelling genre that you are passionate about or that you are interested in, right? What's your go-to genre of storytelling? And in answering that for us, maybe see if you can identify either a couple of tropes or conventions of that genre, or the Pepsi Challenge here. You have to Google that. It's an outdated term. What is a media production technique that is observable in that genre that you think so highly of, right? Maybe it's a drama, maybe it's science fiction, maybe it's adventure, right? Comedy, so on, romance, you name it. You can look up different story genre types. And so we want to hear about what kind you do prefer. And finally, the third part of our video discussion prompt is, yes, we want you to respond with a question once again. I mentioned in a couple of different videos that weeks 1 and 2, for different reasons, present a lot of challenge for us. We're acclimating, we're bringing on a lot early on, and for important reasons, because we want to fill up your cup with terminology and exposure to different media clips and so on. And then that gives you a sense of maybe momentum and things to draw from and different influences when we get more creative in the second half of the course. So at this point in the class, here we are in week 2. What week 2 challenges are you facing with regards to an assignment or directions or so on? Or what aspect of the course, could be a clip, could be an assignment, could be a read, are you finding fulfilling? What's exciting you at this point in the course? So you take it in either direction, but we want you to report back to us in that third part, okay? So your familiarity with the Western genre, a reason for the genre you do prefer most whenever you're escaping into media, and then what is either standing out to you in terms of question versus reward in week 2 of the course. Very excited to engage these videos. Thank you all for your participation. We cut discussion down from 2 to 1 so that we can put a lot more emphasis in the video or in the discussion of the week. So please invest some time into it, not just your post, not just carefully reviewing these videos, but also in your peer engagement. Let's continue to connect with one another, and don't limit that to 1 day a week, right? So if you're checking in maybe on Saturdays, Friday nights, and you get like 1 to 2 posts in, don't forget, sometimes different things happen, and maybe Saturday, hopefully not, but maybe Sunday, some more information is coming in. You should be checking back in on Monday, Sunday night or Monday. See if your peers are posting and try to offer some encouraging words there if and when you can. These accelerated courses work best when we can stay plugged in as often as possible, not simply dropping in for one maybe 2 days a week, right? That doesn't serve us as well, and it's good. It's a healthy process to space it out. Looking forward to your video responses here in Comp 4123 Media Production Techniques.